Hey guys, what's going on? This is David Shenyo, another edition of Panoramics Podcast, New York Weekly's #1 podcast. And let me tell you, we talk about a lot what's kind of going on in the communities, what's going on in gaming, what's going on in life, and just currently pop culture. And nobody else that I know, a hot commodity. Look at those big Traptacular, the one and only Ben Bullington, owner of Fit Brands, and of course, the ever popular GLYTCH Energy drink. How you doing today, Ben?
Good, man. Good. It's good to be here.
Now, Ben, we started off talking about the most important muscle, which was your trap muscle. And we jokingly continue going out there. And I love that about you, man. I love that energy. I love that smile. I think that's such an important thing. Where do you get that as a basic business person? Tell us about your story and how you have such a cool character and where you come to play today with GLYTCH Energy.
I've been in the industry for about 20 years, managing different nutrition stores. I was a national account manager for a big brand, traveling all over the country. And so I've always had a passion for it and worked for companies formulating products. And it was about 6 years ago that I found myself unemployed and going through a bad breakup. And at that time, not knowing what to do, my next move to make, I decided, I was on Amazon late one night and I was looking at some products and I was thought, you know what, I've seen these made. I think I can make one. So, and that's kind of how that got started. I took the little bit of savings I had left. I bought a little piece of equipment. I bought some bottles. My next door neighbor was a graphic designer who is now our VP of design at the time, helped me out with some branding, and I put one product on there and it did okay. And then I said, well, I got a little confidence boost from that. And then I added another product, and it just kept kind of going from there. And then it kept building and building and building. And in less than a year, out of my townhouse where I started at, I did over $1 million in sales. And I had added, one employee and then two employees. And then obviously I started getting heat from the HOA because you had UPS dropping off packages every day and people in and out. So, we ended up moving to a smaller facility and then to a bigger facility. And we've just been expanding ever since then. And that wasn't GLYTCH related products. Those were like hemp products, CBD type products in the very beginning. And then GLYTCH came around a few years after that. A friend of mine, I'm sorry?
When you look at the current market and how you put everything together and how you put together this performance, what made you at that very moment when you're like, dude, I've broken up, life is hard. Like, people don't talk about this, man. It's a real fuck you moment. It's a real, like, I can't believe this is who I am. And your ego has to be checked because there's no other place to go if you don't change, right? And you have to empower yourself to really believe that and put faith in something that, quite frankly, understand. No one talks about that area, man. Tell me what made you, at a very quick point, say, man, fuck this. I'm gonna make it. What was that breaking point for you?
Is that's where I kind of had gotten to that point of, because I think, and I don't tell that story because I need some sort of like, people to go, oh wow, it's amazing. I tell that story because, one, there's so many people that go through similar, everybody's gone through a heartache or heartbreak. Everybody at some point, not everybody, but a lot of people fall on some sort of financial hardships at some point in their lifetime, whether it's younger or older, because things happen. And it just so happens that I fell on both at the same time. And those are, defining moments of your life. Either you're going to define the moment or the moment's going to define you. And the one thing I think people don't do when they take a chance on things is take a chance on themselves, right? And it's in that moment that you have to finally just say, I'm going to take my shot, right? We all get a chance to take our shot. And it was in that time that I had gotten to the point where if I'm going to take a shot, this is the shot I'm going to take, and I'm going all in. I'm not going to. There's no plan B. You know, we're taking the ship to the island and we're burning it down. Like, we're here now, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to make this work.
I think when you're going down swinging, there's a real moment in your life, and there's almost a split moment where you're almost going to allow yourself to be taken by this negative energy and just say, fuck it, this is it. So that's what I'm going to do. It's just the chips are going to fall. And that is the absolute point of breaking up faith and hope. When you are doing that moment and you're breaking up and you have that pivotal second to come back and make it work, and 5-6 years later, like you said, build a brand like your brand, or a couple years later, build brands that are continuously helping people, I think that's where the calling comes in, man. And I think a lot of times in business, we don't talk about that enough because it ends up fast paced and making that coin, but we don't appreciate that. And that's not, and it ends up messing the core value of business, right? And like right now, you look at your market as a whole, and you look at energy drinks, and you look at the sector, and you look at the health, and you look at the things that are coming in there, and the way that this product is being pushed out, and in how it's doing it, you're making some changes that are a little bit more different than what everyone else is doing. Tell me about some of the changes that you're doing that you see different.
The changes that we've done with the brand, with GLYTCH since the beginning of, you know, when we first got on the scene, I had never done a powdered drink before. We had done capsules and oils and pills and gummies and creams and things, but we've never done a powder. So I had to, get some powders and kind of reverse engineer these powders to see kind of how they worked and how the flavor profiles work and how things mixed and different things. And the ones we got in the beginning, like the G Fuels and the Sneaks and those guys, who I greatly respect because they've kind of piloted the way of the industry. We got those and we kind of did similar profiles to those, but over time, I never stopped researching, I never stopped developing, I never stopped, learning. I decided that, if we can do better, then we should do better. So that's why over the last year or so, GLYTCH has gone through a transformation as far as the reformulation, kind of a redesign, because I wanted to go further into the gamer wellness and really develop a product that isn't just another energy drink product. It's not just another Kool-Aid drink with some caffeine in it. I really wanted to have a product that stood out from the others without the artificial flavors, without the artificial colors, without the fillers, that's clinically dosed with real ingredients that work, and in the doses they work. The dosing is effective, what we put in there. So that's the direction it's gone. And we actually lowered the price a little bit too, because I wanted to make a product that was not only clean, but it was also affordable and economical for most people to buy.
When you see the current status of what is going on in the gaming world and the energy world and the content creation world, and you're seeing this shift, where do you see the shift happening right now in this industry?
I mean, this industry has gone through, even in its infancy, pretty much. It's the volatile, right? It's up and down and shifting, and big players are coming in and leaving. It's crazy, right? So we're trying to offer something that is solid, something that everybody can use, something that's going to be around for a long time. And I mean, you pretty much just have to ride the waves, and just kind of see where it takes you, because you can't force things, and you things can change day to day in this industry.
I once read that high performance people like a Tiger Woods or LeBron James, when their moods are what they are, they're steady.
Right.
It's a little bit like this, but it's steady. And they're trying to stay steady because they realize as a leader, the lack of steadiness will create a ripple effect down the pipeline, right?
Absolutely.
When you talk about that in your philosophy of business, what do you think about that when it comes to business and things that are happening in that area?
Oops, sorry.
Oh, I lost you. Good. Yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
I said, what do you think about that when it comes to business and processes? About how do you maintain your cool and going that from consistent? Because I mean, obviously, outside of the Trapzilla working outside, drinking that great GLYTCH energy, right?
Right.
What else do you do to have an overall balance and a peace that now you can pretty much focus on and enjoy more of life with?
Well, I tell you, it started in the beginning, man. And when I first started, when I was going through those really testing times, you really have to. It's easy to get it's easy to get scattered, and it's easy to kind of lose yourself and become a mess. But you really have to center yourself, and I credit that to I really focused my discipline, and even when I was I didn't have a job, so I didn't have. Sorry.
So you said it's great. It's great when what?
It's great when times are good, but storms are always coming. You're either going into a storm or coming out of one.
100%. So let me ask you this: right now, in the state of where you see gaming and where it's sitting at, how do influencers and brand ambassadors get noticed and work with you? Where do you see that as an opportunity? How can a young person be part of that and be a paid person and be part of the whole activation process with you guys?
I see I know it's hard for those guys. There's a lot of guys out there just grinding away, and more and more people are getting involved with it. But I think there's ways that those guys can stand out and do different things and really become those personalities and those creators or those gamers that do get noticed. And we have different programs that take people on when they're just beginning, and then as they grow, they can get promoted to different partner status, and then on up. So and we've kind of built the brand that way. We haven't always just looked at who's the most popular out there right now. We look at people that are on their way to becoming that, that are grinding away and that are doing what it takes, because it's not easy. Nothing is, nothing good comes easy anyways. So, we do have programs for those things. And, I give those guys a lot of credit, man. They're out there grinding away all the time. I know it's not easy. I've seen what these guys do. I mean, they're putting in countless hours and hours and hours to really, perfect their craft. So there's a lot of respect for those guys.
Is there anything that right now you're seeing on social media that is kind of a hot trend that is really capturing moments as a consumer in business? Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I really like seeing people organically talk about the product, have it in fun in atmospheres that make people want to watch it more. And you can almost tell the difference. And you can also tell the difference with guys who don't do it that way. Is there a video that you see that's kind of hot right now? You're like, this is kind of something that we look for when we're trying to find brand ambassadors?
Yeah, we look for people that it's got to come off organically. It's got to come off genuine, right? Authentic. I would hate for anybody to ever use our product that's just like, yeah, we get paid to shake it up on camera, so we do it. It's like, we want you to like the product, because you can tell when someone likes the product or doesn't like the product, because it comes out, right? Like, when you like something, you tell your friends you like something.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. You can actually.
It's a huge difference. You can tell.
They're sharing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The experimental is so important.
What's that?
I said experimental is so important. I think a lot of people forget that part. Like, the names that you have are part of your experimental process that you're putting in, right? So they talk about those names, and then the opening, the tasting, the flavoring, and then they share it. And I think a lot of people don't do it that way. They just do a one-off branding and they call it a day. And I'm like, that's the worst thing you can do. You don't care enough about the brand. The brand's watching you. Why would you just give them one? That's my rate. Well, they want to work with you afterwards.
Right. And then how do you? And then it's like saying, I only get this, so I'm only going to do this.
Exactly.
Well, then how do we get to the next level? Right.
Exactly. And I think that's the hard part in business, right? Because it almost has to be a combination of both, but at the same sense, it has to be that perceived value. And I think a lot of times people miss that boat where they miss those opportunities on those perceived values, right? And I think that's where it really gets bad in business as well.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, because it's it becomes less of a partnership, and it becomes like, well, what can you do for me, or what can you, it becomes more me and less us,
Right. And that's a critical error, I think, when you're doing business with anybody, especially if you're talking to a group of yourself, is the us component has to be greater than the I, because if there is no us, there is no I.
Right.
And people are
No, I agree, because you look at it like, instead of looking at, well, how can this benefit me? It's, this is what I can bring, right? And this is the energy I bring, and this is the positivity I bring. This is the community I bring. This is what I can do. Instead of going, well, what can you just do for me? And then I'll do X amount based on that.
When you talk about that, the willingness to do more and go from there, was that something that you always ingrained in, or did that fundamental shift happen to accelerate your path? Which one would you say it was?
I would say I've always had a willingness to do more, because I know it's the only way you're going to grow,
Amen.
right? If not in the business that you're in, but just as a person, right? And I never set those limitations on myself, but in the beginning, you figure when you start something, you're doing a lot and you're not going to get anything.
Yep.
There was no paychecks coming in, right? There was no benefits coming in. There was no weekends off. It's like I tell people all the time, weekends don't mean that much to me anymore, because it's constant, right? What I do is all the time, and I love what I do. So it's not, I don't work for the weekends, right?
100%.
So yeah, those, when in the beginning, if all you're looking for is to get paid, then you might as well just never start, because it's not gonna. That's just not the way it happens.
Yeah, I think the short term thing is, and like this isn't for everyone. I think when you're going out there and you're grinding, and the faith that you have to have yourself has to be pretty solid. Like I tell people, faith in yourself has to be greater than everyone else's doubts. And
Absolutely.
that's a hard thing to do, man.
Yeah, because I can tell you.
Right, because the doubts are when the bills are piling up, right? The doubts are like, yo, is this really going to work, and going from there, right? But it's that pivotal moment of breakage that you can really, really make it work. And I think that's important.
It was, because it took me several months to get to that point. At the time, I had, break up, and the unemployment thing happened. I think it was around October, which is right before the holidays, the worst time for it to happen, right? So I got through the holidays, and it, it was a few months after that I was like, I really have to, do this. Am I going to get a job, or am I going to, go off on my own? But it's super important, man, and to really dial that focus in, you know, and to know, and to not get scared, and to not, because you're going to have doubts. You're going to wake up with doubts every single day.
Yep.
It's just a matter of what you do with those doubts, right? If you listen to those doubts, or if you quiet those doubts. It's just like telling people around you what you're going to do. Don't do that.
100%.
Don't do that. Just move quietly and swiftly, and just keep going.
One of my favorite things I like to tell people a lot is to remove doubt, do.
Right.
Just do it. And once you do it, you'll realize you'll have the real opportunity to see if that's really doubt or not, and go from there. And there really isn't a time, I think, not to do that. When you talk about growing a type of business like this, that you're putting together and helping people, and you're talking about not having weekends, and having nights that you have to push and go through, waking up every day and being the exact same position you were the day before, but your bank account is in a negative position, and you have more and more stress. People don't talk about it in business.
No, they definitely don't.
I mean, and I'll tell you why I don't talk about it, because the guys who are selling the courses make it way too easy to sound, and the guys who are grinding understand that is part of the territory, but that's part of anything, right? Like, we're so busy trying to get everything instantaneous and good that we think we deserve it, where the reality is we come from a different age where, like, you have to work for what you got for, and that still remains true no matter what it is, right? But that mental ability to stay strong, I mean, people talk about that, like, dude, I can't imagine those tough times. Is there a story that you were like, oh my God, this is almost it, and then you went back and you accelerated past it after you shifted a little bit of your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, what is it? I mean, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success, right?
Amen.
So people, oh, it must be nice and all this, but you didn't see those years prior. You didn't see when you were sleeping, I was awake.
Right.
When you were at the beach, I was in the office. We're not the same when it comes to that. Like, it's very, very different. And yeah, there was times in the very beginning, especially when I first got the brand going, or when we first got on Amazon, I got things going, and I was like, oh man, this could work. And then I wake up one Monday morning, and everything was shut down.
Wow.
So everything went from boom back to zero.
Wow.
And I had to deal with their Amazon's internal teams, and went back and forth, and it finally went all the way to their attorneys to say, is this going to be approved or not? And I had probably a few weeks of what am I going to do if this doesn't work?
Right.
Like I finally got a little bit of, you finally get a little victories, and all of a sudden it gets crushed, and everything got approved, and we went back at it. And it's those things, and I tell people, you have to enjoy the suck, man.
You have to.
You gotta embrace the suck.
Yeah.
And I'm not the first to say that I know that, but I have embraced the suck. I've experienced the suck, and it's those moments you learn. It's not when you just get these big victories and you take off. That could be luck. You don't know. You got to know why these things happen, and you got to figure out, okay, how do I navigate these waters? When this happens again, what am I going to do? That's how you learn.
People don't think when things happen, they bitch and complain and they feel bad about it. But the lesson, well, there's a lesson from it. Well, what's a lesson? And a lot of times when it comes to business, you can almost figure out the lesson by going backwards. It doesn't mean that you're ever at fault. I think the default is you blame yourself or you blame other people. But instead of blaming, like you said, the focus, I tell my team all the time, we're not here, we're just resolving. We're here to fix the situation. So it doesn't just be temporary. You can go from there.
Right.
A lot of people are resolving short-term things in their lives. They're not fixing things in their lives. And it doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. It just means that those conditions will get you through everything, right? The same conditions that you went through, no matter where you were sitting. And I see this all the time when I'm, working with high performance people or coaching them or running them through from all the gamuts that we've done. The ones that have truly embraced it realize that sucking is part of it. And I laugh about this, right? I think about how lazy I was in college, working 1 day a week, and I was like, oh man,
right.
I had to party.
Hating that 1 day.
15 hours class is way too much, man. I got issues, man. I got to balance my life. And I think to myself, man, 15 hours is not even a full work day yet, know? And I don't have the choice to take the day off and be lazy and mess it up. And I think that's where people need to really understand what you just said in that message is it's just, it sucks. And if that was what was going to happen, the clear steering point was you would have made your adjustments to still make it work. And I think that's a difference because you can always find a way to make it work if you want to make it work. And I think it takes a lot of time sometimes, but quitting doesn't do anything, right?
No, I mean, it gives you, it's going to give you one thing. That's it, But like with anything, if anything, I always blame myself for everything. But I don't blame myself in a negative way, right? Something goes wrong, it's my fault. Something goes wrong with the business, it's my fault. But I look at that as, let me go back and see what I could have done differently to not get here. 100%. Right? What could I have changed? What could I have done? What could I have looked at a little bit closer to not get here? I don't look at it like beat myself down about it. Like look in the mirror and just
hate yourself.
Yeah, hate myself. But I go, all right, it's my fault. I'm not going to blame anyone else. Because I think that's an easy thing to do for people in life is when things go wrong, blame everyone else. But it doesn't get you out of what you're doing, right? So just take responsibility for it. Go back and look and see what you could have done differently and move on. It's those little victories that continue to build, and it's the confidence. And that's what I tell people too when they ask about that story. I'm like, it's not making it big overnight. I think that's a horrible thing that happens. I think it's the little victories along the way that build that confidence for you to go, all right, I'm going to go a little further now. All right, I'm going to go a little bit further. Let me try this. Let me try that. If somebody would have said, hey, you want to start this whole new brand and all this stuff, that would have, scared the hell out of me.
100%.
Like I have no idea what that entails. But we worked the Amazon business. I worked all week, and then on the weekends we worked on GLYTCH every single weekend, and that's how that came to be.
It's amazing. If you had to give one piece of advice to our listeners out there, what would that piece of advice be?
That one piece of advice, I would say, you got to take a chance on yourself at some point, and you're going to know when that point comes because you're going to hear that voice inside. And don't quiet that voice. When it says it's time to take your shot, take your shot. Because you may only get one. And regret's probably the worst thing to have to deal with in life. So if it's something you want to go after, just go after it.
Amen to that, man. Take your shot, make it work. There's nothing else to lose besides loss itself, man. Like
That's
you said,
it.
put it out is get rid of doubt is by doing. Man, I appreciate your time. Where can people follow the company, and where can they find more information about you as well?
They can go to our Twitters, you know, at GLYTCH Energy, glitchenergy.com. I'm not big on social media. As you can tell, I'm pretty elusive when it comes to things. I'm usually in the shadows working, you know, so, but I'm on there. I'm just not big on there.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time, Ben, for GLYTCH Energy and David
Absolutely,
Chen.
I appreciate you having me on here.
Oh, I love having you on here, man. It's great. We're going to see amazing things keep growing on your end. Thank you for giving us everything else. For David Chen and Ben Bullington from GLYTCH Energy, you're another edition of Panos Podcast. We'll see you guys next week. Stay healthy, stay happy, and keep faith in yourself. See you guys soon.